Okay, guys, Jim Adkins here, White Tiger Martial Arts, in the Mojo Dojo, briefly for the black belts. And I know if you guys were, hey, I'm going to jump on and do some really cool black belt technique stuff, I don't give that stuff away online. I know you can find it anywhere, but I'm not that guy. The black belt lesson for today and for this week, and my black belts know what they're working on. They're all working on something different. I'll go ahead and put part of the kata on here for Madam President. We'll do that. Yeah, I do that for you. We'll talk about that. But I want to talk about something else for black belt mentality, black belt attitude, and it's going to be what you're going to work on through blacks. This is stuff that I normally do in person, and I have a tendency to rattle the black belts. And what I mean by that is any candidate that's coming up through the ranks that are going to be black, that are becoming black belts, it's a secret I'm about to give you, right? I push their buttons. And through the 5, 6, 7, 8 years that I know them while they're working to get to that point, I find out a lot about my students. I'm very involved with their lives. We're family. So I know what buttons to push, and I'm really good at it. And when I do it, it tests their morals, their ethics, and their belief systems. Now, the position of trust that you put yourself in as a teacher, there's a fine line that you walk there. You don't abuse your trust, your students' trust, or the fact that they will take what you say as the gospel truth. You do not abuse that by any means. If you're going to try and use what I'm about to say, as a teacher, reach out to me and I'll explain it better. And I know some of my students are going to hear this. I will remove this video after this week, but some of my students are going to hear this and go, they know. Mr. Vandenberg was a great example. All of my students, Mr. Pearson, Mr. Vowinkle, Mr. Denny, Nancy Bozick. I have pushed buttons for all of them. Mr. Gaskin, Jim Gaskin was awesome. So what I do is I will look for areas of their life where they have a strong conviction, about their beliefs. And sometimes it's a negative belief in who they are, or a negative belief in the situation of their life. And that they're strongly convicted that this is how it is. And I will challenge that. And one, they will either come up with a definite belief reason to carry that forward, reframe it to a positive, and take it with them. Or two, they will see how silly it's really been, and they will release that. In the case of Mr. Vandenberg, he released a whole lot of crap. He let it go. His life changed. All of my black belts do that, but he's just at the top of my head right now. It was just amazing. They may come away hate you for a while, but that's the dad thing, that you hate your dad for a while for making you do the things you don't want to do. And then you realize, hey, he loved me enough to do it. Anyway, so today I want to point out for you, since I can't do this directly, this is what I want you to start thinking about. There are a lot of people in the world who love to judge other people, and you hear it, you see it, and sometimes you fall into the trap of judgment. We all do it. Okay, nobody is free from the accidental fall once in a while. The difference is when you catch yourself and you realize what's happening, how you handle that. Okay, I will even share one of my faults, the hardest thing I have to let go of. I will share that with you. Looking at things like, okay, in Kenpo, my Kenpo, we don't do a lot of high kicks anymore. I busted my knee at 16. I know it was a street fight, jumping and flying, doing the fancy stuff. I busted my own knee in a street fight. I know, right? So I went, that's a waste of time. It was fancy, it was cool, it was a waste of time. And in my head, I locked that belief system in. When martial arts to me in the very beginning was all about that cool stuff, the self-defense, but being able to jump and fly and the kung fu stuff was amazing to me. It was fun. So I had to change the way I thought. So when I teach it, we don't do a lot of kicks, a lot of high kicks. We do the defective kicks, but we stretch and make sure that you can do that. This is a belief system that you cannot limit yourself into. You cannot, excuse me for saying you cannot. I would prefer that you look at high kicks and find the benefit for being able to pick your foot up and make that kick when you need it. Have it in your toolbox, have it in your arsenal, train yourself so that you can if you need. Make sense? Um, People judge. You don't need to kick that high. You don't need to fly through the air and do 15 flips and kicks. Well, if you can acrobatically, physically, athletically do that, holy crap, right? It takes a lot to be able to do that. It's not for everybody, especially when I get an older person in the school and they want this doesn't happen for us. We'll stay away from that. Number 2 example. Let's take it into more personal livelihood stuff. As a black belt, you want the opportunity to achieve whatever it is you set your mind to. Let's say, for instance, you have a belief about money and people with money that's negative. He's rich or she's rich, they must be thieves. They must have abused other people to get that money. You ever heard that? I have. I hear people say it a lot. It's how they're brought up or the belief system that they adapt on their way up. I've heard kids tell me that. There's a multi-billionaire in China. He's a businessman and he must be a thief. One of my students told me that he's like 8, 9, 10 years old. I was like, holy crap, wait a minute, stop. What makes him a thief? Well, he's got $1 billion. He must be a thief. No, absolutely not. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to other people. Will other people do it to you? Sure, maybe. Do you care? No. No. If you start the belief that you'll never have $1 million, guess what? You'll never have $1 million. When the truth is, a lot of people make over $1 million in their lifetime, and they blow it. Why? They're not paying attention. They don't believe they can or could or did, or they don't pay attention. I said that twice. Pay attention. So your belief system can limit you. Don't do that to yourself. Okay? When you have a belief about diet or food or exercise or another style of martial art, and you go, you limit your ability to achieve anything from that idea. Please don't do that to yourself. Okay? It doesn't mean you have to take on everybody's belief system. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is you need to pay attention to yourself. Ask good questions. Learn to research and do the work yourself. Find out what works for you. All of my black belts do that and have the ability to do that very effectively. And they build their lives around it. That's what I want for you. Let's say you don't believe 10th degree exists. Not my students. Well, maybe, I don't know. There's no such, I've been told there's no such thing as a 10th degree. Oh, there's my students' families. Oh, he's not a 10th degree. There's no such thing. Really? I'm right here. You hear it a lot, though. People, nobody should have a 10th degree. That is their limiting belief. And they will never have a 10th degree. Why? They don't know what it takes. They don't believe it's possible, and they'll never achieve that goal, ever. And if they do, it'll be on the wrong path because obviously they don't know what path to take at the moment. And if the opportunity arises for them, follow me here. Let's say they scoff at the idea that a 10th degree black belt truly exists. They don't know what it is. They really don't if they scoff at it. There's people that, listen, I know there are people that wear the belt that don't know either. I can't solve all the problems, okay? But if they don't believe it exists, they don't, and they make fun of it and they badmouth other people, and then the opportunity for them arises to follow that path and become their own 10th degree black belt, to become a 10th degree black belt. But for the last 10, 12 years, they've been bad-mouthing it. What is going to happen now? Follow me? Let's say, for instance, you have a belief about a certain group of people in the martial arts, and everyone that you've met within that circle or type of art acts a certain way. So you tag everyone that says they train that as those type of people. And you scoff at their training so much that you negate it completely. I'm never going to do that. It's a waste of time. You will never learn what they have to offer. And they may not. What you think about that type of person may be absolutely true, but I highly doubt the art is all that way. People do this to Kenpo. Kenpo's this, Kenpo's that. They have no idea what Kenpo is. They really don't. And when they go to try and learn it, they start calling it things like Krav Maga. It's Kenpo. They start calling it other things, so they don't have to think, okay, I'm learning Kenpo. I have done it with the MMA guys. I met some MMA guys that were just assholes. Excuse my language. Bad attitude, just terrible people in general. Didn't like them, didn't like the way they looked at the martial arts. And so I tagged a few people. Hey, I don't like these people. I don't. And then I met a bunch of them that reinforced the idea. It wasn't the idea of mixed martial arts. It was the jiu-jitsu crowd. It was the wrestling crowd. And I had to hurt a few of them. And that doesn't make me happy. So I have a bad attitude still to this day for most of their attitudes. But it's not the people in the art that do it. It's not the art itself. It's not the idea of blending arts. It's the attitude in which you choose to do it. Just because that type of person gravitates toward that art at the moment doesn't make the art itself bad. There, I shared that with you. So, as a black belt, I want you to think about this stuff. Okay, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. How much time have I got? 11 minutes. I'm going to run through the small section of Tiger and the Crane for Madam President here. I know that she's at the Dragon section. If you have something specific, Madam President, reach out and I'll go over that. I'm going to back up a little bit here. We're going to go through. So once you get to this section, punch, block, palm heel, step, downward block, uppercut, back knuckle punch, and you repeat it to the other side. Block, palm, step, hook, uppercut, downward block, uppercut, back knuckle punch. It's reverse downward, outward block, jump, lion's head, double fist punch, step back, pull, turn it over, block, claw, step, claw. We'll do that again. So it goes block, punch, step, block, palm, downward block, uppercut, back punch, other side, block, step, pull, palm, step, up, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Jump, turn, pull, strike, step back, pull, palm, turn over. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that was for you. Okay. I'm going to come back and do the sword. I'll do the knife. And then I'll come back later and we'll touch whatever you need. Just make sure you ask the questions. Questions make it better, make it more specific. Okay. I'll see you guys in a few.